And we're back here with RCoffeeTime.com, and we are not at the coffee roastery in McCormick Ranch. We are in Mike's Garage in Gilbert, and you are Mike. Okay, we're going to pick it up. This is our last segment for this show, and you were telling a great story on break. Now, it was like you were flying an aircraft and you ran out of fuel.
No. That's how things happen.
Wait a minute, that sounds better.
Hang on to your seats. Be prepared. You will be thrilled. Critics are calling it absolutely sensational.
And we're back at our coffeetime.com and Village Coffee Roastery. Today we're at Mike's Garage out in Gilbert. And we're sitting with a group of distinguished pilots.
Extinguished.
Okay, when we took that break, I had to readjust the camera, and now we're back. And where did we leave off? I know there was a conversation going on.
There were 4 conversations going on.
Yes.
Okay, can we continue those 4? And I'll just sit here and listen because it's really riveting conversations here.
Let me tell you a story about Roger Parrish. Roger Parrish had, first of all, introduced himself to a group of us that we had built 4 experimental airplanes, Newports, and we're flying them all the time. And he told us a story how he used to see us all coming over his house as we were coming in for landing, in hopes that all 4 of us would get back after we took off to go do whatever, because we were using Volkswagen engines. But anyway, one day he came down and introduced himself, and within 10 days he was the owner of one of those airplanes in our group. But then Roger continued on being interested in bigger airplanes, more powerful real airplanes instead of home builds. But he and I bought my Waco together.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Tell him Roger's background.
Roger, you tell Roger's background. You know him a little bit better than I. Roger was military.
Only person to be Thunderbird lead for 2 seasons.
For two times.
So, yeah, he's a legend in the Thunderbird community and the Stearman community. And there's been a couple of air shows that they had my Stearman as static display because it was
of
Colonel Parridge's.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Thunderbirds flew over Roger's memorial.
Yeah.
Yes.
Out at
That's not her.
National Veterans.
We were doing a show with the Newports when Roger was in the group, and the Thunderbirds came to do a show at Luke Air Force Base, and we had to leave to go do another show at Glendale. And Roger was in the lead. We had 7 airplanes in the group, and we took off. After the Thunderbirds got parked, got out of the airplanes, and we took off, and as soon as we were off the ground, Roger signaled, "Smoke on," and we all turned. I go, "Yes, Roger." Smoke on, and he made us a little bit of a right turn. We went right over the top of the birds.
Wow.
And Roger just had to do that, just to say,
Yeah.
and everybody paid attention to us.
We did that up at Las Vegas for the 60th anniversary of the Air Force.
Yep.
Same
With the
thing,
Stearmans.
right over the Thunderbird. Roger
But anyway, Roger had gotten the Stearman after he decided it was going to take too long to restore the Waco, and I just took over and continued to restore the thing. But he flew it forever, and then he took me for rides and let me take off and land and get checked out essentially in the Stearman. And when he found that he was not going to be living too much longer because of a heart condition, he told me, "You're going to buy my airplane from Betty when I'm gone." So I did. And then my wife said what I said before, I don't need to have two biplanes. And anyway, just wonder. And when I met Rick, I knew he was the right person to be a part of our family with that Stearman as a connection between them.
Had you met before this airplane?
No, not at all.
Never.
So this is what brought us all together.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Billy brokered it. Mike sold it.
Well, I know Billy broke it, but...
No, brokered
Oh,
it.
brokered.
Yeah,
Oh,
brokered.
I see. I thought...
Can you read lips?
And Lee did most of my checkout.
Wow. So it's a family affair now, right?
Yes.
Wait a minute, we want to hear his story when he got the
Yes.
Master Pilot Award because it's special.
Okay. Go.
And it involves Roger.
Yeah, it does. All that means is I'm very old. So
You are a kid.
he's youngest of all of us. So the FAA presented an award called the Wright Brothers Master Pilot Awards for flying for 50 years with no bad things happening, accidents, pilot deviation, that kind of stuff. And so they awarded it to me. I was actually at 51 years last April at the big Sun and Fun fly-in in Lakeland, Florida. And 3 or 4 days before the fly-in, I called Jack Parrish, who's Roger's grandson. And he is in Dallas, and he runs a flight school. And so I called Jack. We've been Facebook friends, never met. And I said, any chance you're going to be at Sun and Fun? He says, no, we've got too much going on, too busy in the flight school. Why? And I said, well, I'm getting the Master Pilot Award from the FAA at this air show. He and his wife, I believe Cindy, dropped everything. In the morning of the award presentation, they jumped in their airplane and flew from Dallas to Lakeland to be there for that. And got to meet him for the first time, his lovely wife, and my wife and I just bonded with great, great people. I'm planning on flying this Stearman to Lakeland this next year, and he's asked if I'm going to be there with the airplane. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Isn't that neat on how these airplanes, they have their own personality.
They do indeed.
Right? And they attract certain people, and it's just so cool. So I didn't know the story. I remember when Mike had it, and then I heard it sold. I didn't know that, in a way, it was going to stay in the family.
It is.
Which is, I think it's just really cool.
Beyond words, I'm honored to be part of these guys.
Roger's cool. I spoke with them. I knew him. Yeah.
I never did. I would have loved to have.
Oh, so I met him around the same time I met Billy, and I was up at the EEA chapter 1217 up at Scottsdale Airport, and Curtis Clark heads that up. You might know Curtis.
No.
He's pretty big. He was with America West.
I know of him.
Literally big.
Hey, let's keep it nice here.
Let me tell you a story here. Me and Curtis, so this was like a long time ago, like really long. And it's Thanksgiving, and Curtis calls me and says he's flying a Beech 18 cargo for FedEx. And he called and he's like, hey, Alan, I got to fly down to Tucson, a load of FedEx. You want to go with? And I said, sure. So this is Thanksgiving, right? And it's like, Mom, I'm going to fly with Curtis down to Tucson be back for dinner. So we go down there, we load up this airplane right up to the cockpit door. I mean, it was just solid of cargo. So Curtis says, okay, we're going to have to go in through the cockpit window. Well, it's a little square, like this big. Well, we fit through it. I mean, I couldn't get a leg through it now, but back then we were so small, skinnier, and so we fit through this window, and we get in there, and I look over at my engine, and there's like a puddle of oil under it, and I go, Curtis, my engine over here, there's a puddle of oil under it. He says, they're about a gallon? I said, yeah, and he goes, okay, that's normal. We fly down to Tucson. He makes a wheel landing, just greases it on. We unload the airplane. And mind you, now this cloud system came in. So there is a ceiling there on the way back. And I'm flying. And Curtis says, hey, let me have it. So he puts it in a dive and pulls it up. And then he does this roll, and he could have a glass of water on the dash and it wouldn't have spilled or anything. And then he goes, okay, you got it. And it was like, oh, did we just do that? Because that was a pretty big airplane. I did aerobatics, but not in a twin like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's where I knew Roger. And from there, and after the meetings, we would go to TGI Friday or whatever, and I'd sit and chat with him and all. And then I flew with Billy. I don't remember what year, but we did. Remember, we flew up to the cemetery up at Cave Creek, and we started there, and we did the missing man formation, and John McCain was there. And we did 2 flybys that time, and then we went all the way down to Eloy. But when we were coming out of Casa Grande, you let me fly, and on the way to Eloy, and then the formation was pretty loose, and Roger had split off. He was the missing man, and we didn't know where he was. We couldn't see him. Remember, we were looking for him, and we're flying. And then as we're going, Billy says, "Okay, let's tighten it up." So we start moving in to tighten up this formation without Roger, and we're getting in, and we got so close, and I got so uncomfortable. And I know there's a buzzsaw on the front of this airplane, and so I was like, "Okay, Billy, you got it." And it was like on a rail. He just kind of turns it in, puts it in the slot. Well, I see a plane in front, this dot. And I'm looking, and I go, I think I see Roger. And he's coming right at us, head on. And I'm going, yeah, it's Roger for sure. So we're flying. He goes up and does this maneuver, goes over the top of us, does a split S, and I swear I couldn't believe it. He came up right into the slot, like again, the airplane was on a rail. And I looked over and I go, you just didn't do that, did you? It was just the most amazing thing. And then we did the flyover at Eloy. So he's amazing. Yeah, he was such a cool guy.
And that wasn't the only time he did exactly that.
Oh, wow. What an experience to see that, because usually you don't, like airplanes flying right at you. So anyway.
Unless you know who's piloting it.
Yeah, but Roger was really cool. And then I had made a poster. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's Roger Parrish now and then, or then and now. So it shows, with him and the Stearman, and then when he was, or with the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
And then he's standing on top of the jet. And it was so cool. And when I gave that to him, he thought it was neat. But when we went over to his house for his celebration of life, the coolest thing, I walk in and there it is framed, hanging on the wall. And it was just like, he really liked it.
That's the moment.
That was the moment. I just went, oh my gosh, it was the coolest thing. Anyway, that was, I don't know how many years I knew him, but he was terrific all the time. Great guy just to chat with. Great pilot too.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're talking about airplanes and all. Now, you mentioned you fly the 787. This is the Dreamliner that they call it?
Yep.
Is it a dream?
Well, that's what Boeing puts it out as, but yeah. It's a pretty good ride.
That's a Boeing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Boeing's been in the news, hasn't it?
But they were still making good airplanes when they built that one.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Yeah.
So what's it like? How many passengers is that? And
it's about 250 passengers, and it's got a terrific range. I just came back from Brisbane, Australia, so nonstop to Dallas.
Just a little bit ago, today.
Yeah, I landed in Dallas.
Yeah, but don't feel bad for him. He slept part of the way.
That's what we call dozing for dollars.
Yes. You flew in just for this. I so appreciate you flying in all that way for this podcast.
I was actually supposed to come in on Sunday, but American had other plans and decided not to send an airplane on Saturday. So there was I got instead of a 24-hour layover in Australia, I got a 50-hour layover.
So how is that compared to, did you ever fly the 747-400?
I flew the 747-200s that we had at America West.
Oh.
I was a co-pilot on it.
Oh, no way. I flew.
And how old were you, Lee?
28.
12.
No.
He was 12 when I met him.
Yeah.
I flew on that. I got it out of Las Vegas. I took a ride from Vegas on it.
All the way to Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did it in 30 minutes one time.
Oh, my God. It barely
That was a fast airplane.
I don't think we got over 5,000 feet. It was, it was so, it's like, is this airplane ever going to get up? That airplane just seemed like it was underpowered or something. It was old, right? It was.
Yeah.
Hey, I flew the 747-100. Don't talk about old 200s.
Yeah, and I had one friend say, "Yeah, I saw it go overhead the other day," and I'm thinking he was in Phoenix, and he says, "No, I was in Ontario."
So how do you compare those kind of airplanes then? Because the technology is definitely different than that 747 when it was made versus the.
Yeah, it's a lot of the systems all became automated. So it's
Well,
really
he came from automation. He flew the Airbus before that. It has 422 computers in the Airbus, and it's a 1984 airplane. Now he's in this Dreamliner, which really has to be a Dreamliner.
When it's crazy, there's things that even that 1980 technology on the Airbus, they didn't put it in the Boeing, and I'm like, I don't understand why.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I mean, come on, step up.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, we're going to have to take another break. We're going to have to come back in 2 and 2, as they say on the Love Connection, and we'll pick it up from there.
Welcome to Durango Stone. Discover the timeless elegance and exceptional durability of our premium natural stone tile and pavers at Durango Stone. Crafted with precision and built to last, our high-quality tile and pavers offer lasting luxury that outshines man-made alternatives. Experience the difference. Elevate your project with Durango Stone. Our tile and pavers are more than just a choice, they're an investment in enduring beauty and strength. Unlike lower quality or synthetic options, each piece is designed to withstand the test of time, ensuring your installation stands as a testament to craftsmanship. At Durango Stone, we take immense pride in delivering materials that transform ordinary spaces into extraordinary works of art, blending sophistication with resilience. Don't settle for less. Choose Durango Stone today and witness the difference for yourself. Visit us at 15550 North 84th Street, office number 105, in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is where you can explore our exquisite collection and see firsthand how our tile and pavers can elevate your next project. Ready to elevate your project with the finest natural stone? Call us today at 602-438-1001 to get started. Durango Stone, where lasting beauty meets unmatched durability.
If you are in the market to purchase or sell a mansion valued at $10 million or more in the town of Paradise Valley, Durango Stone highly recommends you choose the town of Paradise Valley expert, Alan Reaper, PC, with Realty Executives International. Learn more at azluxuryagent.com.
I landed the closest I ever came to running. Everybody cheers when Billy walks in. Okay, here we go.
When Billy leaves.
Here we go. Take 2. And we're back here with our RCoffeeTime.com, and we are not at the Coffee Roastery in McCormick Ranch. We are in Mike's Garage in Gilbert, and you are Mike. Okay, we're going to pick it up. This is our last segment for this show, and you were telling a great story on break. Now, it was like you were flying an aircraft and you ran out of fuel.
No. That's how things happen.
Wait a minute, that sounds better.
Wait, I thought one of the engines fell off or something.
You said it had to be true?
Yeah. So I flew for 32 and a half years for UPS.
Oh.
And Braniff Airlines before that, but went to UPS. And in the mid-'90s, I was flying a 747-100, which is an older version of what he was flying, the 200. Mm-hmm. And we were flying from Taipei, Taiwan, to Hong Kong at the old Kai Tak airport known as the checkerboard approach. And at the time, it was probably one of the most challenging approaches of any commercial airport.
Still is.
Well, it shut it down, so that's why. Anyway, it was monsoon season. Wave after wave of heavy rain was coming across the field, and we held for an hour and 40 minutes at one place, held for another hour and a half at another place, and we noticed a pattern developing. 1 out of every 5 airplanes was getting in. The rest were having to divert to an alternate airport. And right in front, as we were clear for the approach, right in front of us was Cathay Pacific L-10 11. That's like Hong Kong airline, right? Cathay Pacific. They missed. They couldn't get in. And we had it planned. Our alternate airport was Macau, which is just a few miles away. So if the weather's bad at Hong Kong, it's not much better at Macau. It was what we call a paper alternate. And we were able to get in, no problem, but we had about 30 minutes of fuel when we landed. So that was the closest in my commercial flying career, that's the closest I ever came to, that kind of a thing. But
did you have any like serious emergencies, or was there any kind of like worry? You got concerned and worried that
in 52 years of flying, or,
yes,
or in the airlines,
in any time of your career where whatever you were flying, something happened and it was like, okay, this has got my attention.
I lost electrical system in a small single engine airplane back in the mid 70s over the mountains of West Virginia at night, and declared emergency, was heading to Lexington and got into icing that wasn't forecast, and so we iced up pretty badly. And when I landed, I dropped the gear right before I crossed the runway, and with full throttle and no flaps, and we hit pretty hard because we just didn't have any lift left.
Right.
That's the closest that I.
Plus, it had the weight, extra weight too.
Yeah. So.
And so this is. Anything in the airline that you had any trouble with since you were doing the airlines?
You know, it's interesting.
Or you're doing corporate now, right?
Well, I'm doing charter now. I retired from the airlines from UPS in April of 22 when I hit 65, and they pulled me kicking and screaming out of the cockpit. I did not want to retire. I still was pinching myself. So I gave this retirement thing 6 or 8 months, and I said, this is terrible. So I took one of the companies had offered me a job while I was still flying, and so I'm flying a Challenger, a corporate jet, it's for a charter outfit. So anybody wants to spend $9,000 an hour, we'll fly them wherever they want to go.
Billy, you want to spend $9,000 an hour and we'll fly somewhere.
If I had your money, it would be no problem.
He spends that on Cheryl.
Yeah, so that's great. So when you were out of the private, everything has been great. Whether it was UPS or the.
Yeah, it was the greatest job anybody could want, and it afforded the time off and the money to have general aviation, small aircraft, like the Stearman,
right,
and others. And I still can't get out of flying. I love general aviation.
So when I was at the CAF, I would hear some of the airline guys come off of flights for doing the airlines, and they come back and they go, now this is flying.
Yeah.
Right. They really didn't enjoy the airline as some of the ones that I knew, and they thought the Warbirds was really the ultimate experiences in flying.
Mm-hmm. I loved it. The airline job. I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And but the general aviation was just a totally different atmosphere, and it's what I was raised in was the small aircraft, and I still love that. The Stearman's my favorite airplane I've ever owned.
Yeah, this Stearman. So I didn't own one. I was at a time wanting to get a Waco.
You touched them.
Yeah, Billy, I sure did. I touched them. I actually flew in when I got video when I was up at Sedona. I took a flight. I had a date that I took, and it was the scenic tour.
Yeah.
It was a red Waco. We sat in the front.
Probably it was the same one that Mike.
No.
Mine was orange when it was crashed.
No, this one was red with a black sunburst, I believe it had.
He had 2 or 3 of them up there, and they were, I think a couple of them were sister serial numbers.
Yep.
So they were doing videos at the time, and so I paid for a video, and it was just cameras. I think two or 3 cameras, and all they did is, it would just show for like 10 seconds on one, and it would switch. And so, I mean, it was a way to capture different views. But when you look at it now, I mean, you could do it so much better if you're wanting to capture experiences on the airplanes. But back then, it was pretty neat just to get a video.
Yeah.
So I don't remember, it was like $25 or whatever, but
My wife was a flight attendant for JetBlue for 20 years, retired a couple of years ago, year and a half ago. But I used to ask her about the pilots that she flew with and asked what they flew. And it was astounding to me and a little bit somewhat upsetting that she would say, there are so many of them that say, when I leave this cockpit, I don't want to even look at an airplane.
That's true. I don't understand that. I do not understand that.
I just wonder why it is that they got into aviation in the first place. General aviation is what life is all about.
No, I don't think it's money. I think they just have lost that first love. They've lost
But
it.
that's why they got into it.
Oh, they got in. Yeah, it's true. They got into it for the money and not. At every job I ever had, I may have been making nothing, but I love the job. And I thought, well, I can do this the rest of my career because I'm enjoying it. And so then in the next step, and I ended up, UPS for 32 years, and it was phenomenal.
I got into it because I wanted to honor the vets. People would always ask me, "Were you in the service?" No, I wasn't, but I'm paying my, my penance by having spent $250,000 to restore and fly my Waco to be able to fly for them on Veterans Day and Memorial Day and when they die and whatever. Because I felt like that was my responsibility. That's my service.
That you're giving back.
Yes.
I fly a lot of World War II vets. If you learned to fly in World War II, most of your flying was done, your primary training was done in a Stearman and 2 or 3 others we don't talk about. And so I fly a lot of World War II vets. That's something I enjoy more than anything.
Good thing, Dad.
Okay, so do you know Tony Anger?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I never met him. I understood he wanted to buy A32. Because he told
me. He was upset when he found out that you had bought it.
Yeah. I've never met him, but we're Facebook friends.
Wonderful.
Oh,
guy.
okay, sure. He's terrific. And so that's what he's doing. And I had a friend, have a friend, he's about, I think, 95, but he flew the P-51. So I wanted to bring him out and show him Ed's P-51. And then when I saw Tony, I told Tony about him. And he's like, "Yeah, bring him out, and we'll do a flight."
That's Tony Anger. He's talking.
Yeah. And so
The name of his airplane is Amazing Grace.
Yes, that's right.
So the coolest thing, I didn't know what to expect. I was just hoping this gentleman's son drove him out, and Tony said, "We'll go over to the gate, that's down from the monastery. So we'll meet you over there at the gate." And I had no idea there was going to be like a motorcycle procession to go into where his hangar was. And the coolest thing is this gentleman had no idea. Like he's going,
wow.
what's all the motorcycle?
Wow.
Yeah. So the coolest thing, so I'm behind them and they're all on Harleys and they've got the flags and everything. So this stream, the gate opens and the stream of bikes go and he's following them. So I'm trying to hang out the window to get video of this to have. And then as where Tony's hangar is, it was around, so you couldn't see it until you went around the corner. And when I came around, there's like 20 people out with flags, the United States flags, and it was spectacular. And I'm just going, oh my God, this is the coolest thing.
Well done.
They really did a great job. And the experience was, I was trying to capture all I could on camera. And then the coolest thing, Tony had cameras in the airplane. So that once you got in and took off, got the whole flight of the reaction of the passenger. And it's the coolest thing because Tony said he let him fly, and he was great.
Sure.
He was great, still with the stick and rudder.
Yeah, I've given a number of World War II vets rides, and I give them the airplane, and they fly it just like yesterday.
I think it was, he was number 503 on Tony's count as far as veterans.
Yeah.
I was trying to get him to 500, but he had 2 older pilots that he had ahead of my friend. And then he was going to be flying again. They were doing a ceremony. And these pilots are like in the hundreds. I mean, they were like 100 and something. And my friend didn't want to go out because he would have been the youngest of the group at 95.
Yeah.
But I went out to that celebration at Falcon, and it was unbelievable to see these guys over 100 years old, and they look great, and they're in their flight suits. It was the coolest thing. What you guys are doing and giving back to these vets is awesome. It's just neat. And when I was with the CAF, I flew with one of the instructors from London. And he was in his 90s. Ed took him up in the Stearman. Remember? And Channel 3 was there and did a story on him. And he was so cool. And he said when he came out here, it was in August. And when he got off the plane from London, he said, "Oh my God, they opened the door and it felt like I walked in a bloody furnace." Right. So anyway, but it's really cool, and
Well, you got to admit, it's hotter than a loved owl here in August.
Well, the other thing too, can you imagine the British setting up training for British pilots, and they picked Mesa, Arizona?
yeah.
You know, something was real familiar for them to train at.
Yeah.
A heck of a spot.
Well, listen, guys, our time, we've reached our fourth segment here. And anyway, it's been such a pleasure to have you all on.
The dream became reality. These are the Thunderbirds of today. 95 officers and enlisted men of the United States Air Force. Proud representatives of the Thunderbird legend and dedicated examples of the Air Force Thunderbird tradition. Moving through the skies in a fantastic aerial ballet, flashing man-made visual lightning with quick and easy grace, then calling forth the thunder. The Thunderbirds have moved spectators to describe this kind of aerial display as an art form. For more than 2 decades, each succeeding team, each succeeding generation of Thunderbirds has dramatically evidenced the deep pride and dedication necessary to perform the mission assigned to this team of American airmen. To plan and present precision aerial maneuvers, exhibit air power and the flexibilities of modern tactical aircraft, as well as the high degree of professional skills required to operate high-performance aircraft. Each year, hundreds of applicants from throughout the United States Air Force vie for openings in this elite squadron. The Thunderbird selection process is painstaking and thorough.
We take a lot of time and a great deal of concentration and effort in our selection process. It takes about 3 months to narrow the field down from about 100 pilots who want to be on the team every year. We take a lot of time. We read their records and applications and get recommendations from various people who've worked with the applicants. We narrow them down to about 20 that we feel we can work with. Then after we traveled with all of them, we sit down and have a powwow among ourselves and come up with 5 finalists. These finalists must be able to meet the public well. They must be good at public relations. And, of course, they must be outstanding pilots.
But flying the thunder and lightning is only a part of the Thunderbird legendary tradition. Here is the backbone of the Thunderbirds, the often unheralded maintenance and support personnel, the best in the United States Air Force. These are the dedicated professionals who have perpetuated one of the proudest Thunderbird records. Not one flight demonstration has ever been canceled because of maintenance difficulties.
That's right. And we trust them for many reasons. 1, they're the finest in the Air Force. 2, they have a dedicated, sincere interest in our mission. They can watch the aircraft take off, fly, and do its whole job and land right in front of them. It never leaves their sight. And 3, they fly in the airplane. And all 3 of these motivating factors are very important to their job performance.
This maintenance team is composed of all volunteers, like the pilots, and have competed with as many as 100 applicants for the right to wear the distinctive Thunderbird insignia. This experience and excellence, which is the Thunderbirds, is retained by each man for the rest of his life. Based deep in the heart of America's great Southwest, in the desert home of the legendary Thunderbird, the squadron flies to the corners of the earth traveling as much as 100,000 miles in a single year. During a normal show season, the Thunderbirds perform more than 100 flight demonstrations before millions of spectators. Since first formed, the team has performed in all 50 states and 45 countries and has been seen by more than 100 million people. And for those who are unable to attend the flight demonstrations, the Thunderbirds invariably go to where such individuals are located. This includes hospitals, orphanages, and school classrooms. The team particularly enjoys this close association with young America, for the future history of our nation will be written by these youthful citizens. But the biggest thrill of all for both the public and the Thunderbird Squadron is the flight demonstration. The show itself runs 30 minutes and features 5 Thunderbird pilots. 4 are in the diamond formation and take off together. The solo pilot plans his maneuvers to occur with split-second precision between those of the diamond. Here's how the solo Thunderbird describes his job.
I demonstrate the tight, high-G turn radius of the airplane. I demonstrate the maximum rate rolls, low-altitude maneuvers, upside-down flying, right-side-up flying, all in a high-G environment. My job is to demonstrate the maximum performance capabilities of the airplane, whereas the Diamond's job is to demonstrate the beauty of precision formation aerobatics.
And this beauty of precision formation is largely the responsibility of the Thunderbird commander leader.
The responsibility of consistency and the responsibility of maneuver symmetry is all blended together. You don't say, I'm responsible for these things. You just recognize that when you get in the airplane. We give them our very best every show, and that's responsibility.
The Thunderbird slot pilot, who flies directly behind the leader and between the 2 wingmen, has some special responsibilities.
Watching the wingman doesn't help me to perform the maneuvers properly. But initially, I must admit that their aircraft in my periphery did draw my attention, and I would look at them periodically, either to watch what they were doing to make sure that I didn't hit them, or to look at them to check another reference as far as my positioning. As time moved on and I became more accustomed to the big picture, and I also gained this confidence in the fellows on either side of me, my attention moved from them more and more to the leader. I trust them to be there, and so therefore I don't have to devote any attention to them.
Exploiting the maximum performance of the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom aircraft, the Thunderbird solo pilot roars in at minimum altitude for aileron rolls. One of the most spectacular and beautiful maneuvers executed by the Diamond Formation is a rollback to Arrowhead. In this maneuver, the two wingmen roll back from the Diamond to fly wing position on the slot pilot. The maneuver is described by the Thunderbird left wing pilot.
The boss will call, "Let's go rollback. Ready? Now." He's establishing that so we're wings level inverted when we reach show center. The other wingman and I start up, and at our proper height above the flight, I call, "And roll," at which time we both attempt to roll at the same rate, and we form back on the slot pilot. We're trying to be synchronized, trying to match one another, and the timing is something you can't really be mechanical about. We've got to continually try to establish a set rate, and we're working on a rate of separation as we come out of the roll.
With landing gear, flaps, and speed brakes extended, the Thunderbird solo pilot graphically shows his skillful handling of his 20-ton aircraft. With wings completely overlapped and separated vertically by less than 3 feet, moving as if guided by one hand, the Thunderbirds approach for the spectacular bomb burst.
Today, the centuries-old legend of Thunderbird is as lively as it ever was. This rich legacy and tradition are being nurtured and carried on by today's United States Air Force Thunderbirds. This legacy is in good hands. For once a Thunderbird, always a Thunderbird.
The United States Air Force Thunderbirds. Professionalism and pride of performance. Ambassadors in blue, demonstrating American strength and goodwill throughout the world.